My family stole nearly all of my savings to buy my sister a house, and 3 days later, I discovered something that could take that house away from them. The worst part? They had no idea I knew. For years, my parents treated my younger sister Madison like she could do no wrong. If she wanted something, they found a way to get it. If I wanted something, they told me to earn it myself. So I did. I worked 2 jobs, built a small online business, and saved every dollar I could. I wasn't rich, but I was finally financially independent. Then one night, my father called me. His voice was shaking. "Emily, we're in serious trouble. We might lose the house." I didn't ask questions. I transferred almost everything I had, $78,000. It took me years to save that money. My father promised me every dollar would be used to protect our family home. My mother cried and hugged me. She said, "We'll never forget what you've done for us." I believed her. 3 months later, I received a photograph from Madison. She was standing in front of a beautiful new house. She was smiling. My parents were standing beside her, and underneath the picture she had written, "Finally, my dream home." I stared at the photograph. Then I looked at the amount I had transferred to my parents, $78,000. My hands went cold. I called my father. He didn't answer. I called my mother. She rejected the call. Then Madison called me, and the first thing she said was, "Please don't make this weird." I asked, "Where did you get the money for that house?" She went silent. Then she said, "Mom and Dad helped me." "Using what money?" Another silence. Then she hung up. That was when I knew. My parents hadn't used my money to save their house. They had used it to help Madison start a new life. But I still didn't know how much they had lied to me. 2 days later, I went to my parents' house. My mother opened the door. She looked at me and immediately knew why I was there. "Emily, where's Dad?" "He's working." "No, he's not." She froze. I pulled out my bank statement. "I want my money back." My mother looked at the paper. Then she said something I will never forget. "Madison needed it more than you." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "More than me?" "You're independent," she said. "Madison has always needed more support." I laughed. Not because it was funny, because I suddenly realized how ridiculous my entire childhood had been. I had spent years believing that if I worked hard enough, my family would eventually treat me equally. But they weren't waiting for me to succeed. They were waiting for me to keep giving. I looked at my mother. "Did Dad ever plan to pay me back?" She didn't answer. That was my answer. I walked away. But before I reached my car, my father came outside. He looked nervous. "Emily, wait." I turned around. He said, "There's something you don't understand about the house." "What house?" "Our house." He swallowed. "Your grandfather left something behind." I stared at him. "What are you talking about?" He wouldn't look me in the eyes. "Just forget it." That sentence made me stop, because if there was nothing important, he wouldn't have told me to forget it. That night, I started searching through the old family documents I had kept after my grandfather passed away. For hours, I found nothing. Then, inside an old folder, I found a document dated 11 years earlier. My name was on it. I read it once, then twice, then a third time. I couldn't believe it. My grandfather had transferred a percentage of the family property to me, not my parents, me. I had never been told. And suddenly, another question hit me. Why had my father been so desperate for me to sign new property papers? I looked at the date on the document. Then I looked at a recent property notice. My parents were preparing to sell the family home, but they couldn't complete the sale without my signature. That's when everything became clear. They hadn't just stolen my savings. They had been planning to use the money to secure Madison's future while quietly selling the property, and they needed me to sign away my rights. I could have confronted them immediately, but I didn't. For once, I decided to be smarter than my anger. I made copies of every document. I saved every message. I downloaded my bank records. I even saved the messages where my father had begged me for money because he claimed they were about to lose their home. Then, I waited. 4 days later, my father called. "Emily, we need to meet." "Why?" "It's about the property." I said, "Sure." He sounded relieved. "You'll sign the papers, right?" I smiled. "Let's talk first." He didn't know I had already discovered everything. The next evening, my entire family sat around my parents' dining table. My mother, my father, Madison, and me. My father placed a folder in front of me. Just sign here. I opened it. It was exactly what I expected, a document transferring my interest in the property. I looked at Madison. She wouldn't look at me. Then I asked, "Did you know about this?" She said nothing. My mother immediately answered, "Madison doesn't need to be involved." I put the papers down. She already is. My father leaned forward. "Emily, we're trying to keep this family together." I looked at him. "You used $78,000 of my money without telling me." He became defensive. "We were going to pay you back." "When?" Silence. "After selling the house?" Nobody answered. So I opened my bag and placed my grandfather's original document on the table. My father's face went completely white. My mother whispered, "Where did you get that?" I said, "It was never yours to hide." Madison finally looked at the document. "What does that mean?" I looked at her. "It means Dad can't sell the property without my approval." Nobody spoke. Then Madison suddenly turned toward my parents. "You told me everything was already taken care of." My mother said, "Madison, calm down." But she wasn't calming down. "You said Emily had no claim." My father looked at her. "Stop talking." It was too late. The truth was already out. I didn't need to accuse anyone. They had accused themselves. Then I pulled out another document. This is the bank transfer. I placed it beside the property agreement. This is the message where Dad said the money was needed to save the house. Then I placed another page on the table. This is the receipt showing part of that money went toward Madison's house. My mother covered her face. Madison stared at the papers. And my father finally whispered, "Emily, please." Those 2 words almost broke my heart. Not because I felt sorry for him, because for the first time, I realized how badly I had wanted to hear my father say them when I was younger. "Please, stay. We need you." But now it was too late. I stood up. "You didn't lose me because of the money." My father looked at me. "You lost me because you lied." I walked out. The property sale was canceled. My parents were forced to deal with the financial mess they had created. Madison also had to reconsider the expensive house she had been celebrating. And suddenly, the family that had told me I was selfish for asking for my own money started calling me every day. My mother begged me to come home. My father said he was sorry. Madison sent me a long message saying she had never understood what was happening. But I had already made my decision. I wasn't going to destroy them. I wasn't going to embarrass them. I wasn't going to take revenge. I simply stopped rescuing people who were perfectly willing to let me drown. Months later, I sold my share of the property. I used the money to expand my business. For the first time, I was building something without wondering whether my family would take it away. Then one afternoon, my mother sent me one final message. She wrote, "I hope someday you'll understand why we always did more for Madison." I stared at the message. Then I realized something. I didn't need to understand them anymore. I understood myself. I finally understood that being the responsible child doesn't mean you have to become everyone's safety net. And being part of a family doesn't mean accepting betrayal just because the people hurting you share your last name. So I replied with one sentence. "I understand now." You didn't think I needed your love because you thought I would survive without it. Then I blocked the number. That was the real ending. Not the money, not the property, not even the truth. The real victory was walking away without needing their approval. My family thought they had taken everything from me, but they accidentally gave me something far more valuable. The courage to stop begging for a place at a table where I was never treated equally. And that's the strange thing about karma. Sometimes karma doesn't punish the people who hurt you. Sometimes it simply reveals the truth and lets their own choices do the rest.